Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the course on comprehensive view of speech processing, and this course will be offered by me, myself K. Srinivasa, professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, IIT KHARAGPUR. So, today we will discuss about the introductory part of the course, like the overview of the course, and in that first we will discuss about the objective of the course. The broad objective of the course is it was designed such a way that it catered to the multiple disciplines. So, basically in this course our objective is to understand how the machines process the speech. Since the machines were there everywhere in most of the fields, starting from the any industry, education sector, or any other fields, every field we have that one. So, therefore, the broad objective is that, so how do we interact with the machines, and the machines how they process the speech, that was the broader objective. So, to understand this, so we need to know about the following. First of all, we should know about what is speech. It means to some extent we need to define the speech in a very controlled way. So, we will see what is speech. Then we discuss about what is meant by speech processing. So, what is speech processing, what is not speech processing. So, that distinction we should be aware of it. So, then once we know about what is speech processing, what is speech processing, then we will discuss a few very important applications of speech processing. And then after discussing about applications, then we will see that how do we implement these applications, or how do we develop these applications. And then for knowing these things, like for knowing the speech processing handled by machines, and how these applications will be developed, and for this what are the various features that are required. So, to know about all these topics, so we will see that how the course will be structured, or what will be the scope of this course. So, that under that we will discuss about briefly about the contents of the course that we cover, and then after covering the contents of the course, we will just very briefly discuss about few assignments that are very much related to the course. That means, as part of the course whatever we will cover, so the related hands-on assignments that can be carried out later after once the course has been covered. So, therefore, I designed about around 20 assignments. So, as soon as and when the contents or the topics were covered in the class, and you can able to practice it using a MATLAB, or by using some sound speech processing tools and all, so that you can get a better feel about the understanding of the course and all. And these are also useful for design and development of different speech systems later on. And then at the end we will try to just mention about for the material related to this particular course is available in what are the various textbooks we used to refer, and then finally the references and all other than the textbooks. So, coming to the objective of the course, as I have mentioned that from the title itself it will be, you can aware that this course is designed for catering for multiple disciplines. That means, at a gross perspective, at a broader level, this course is meant for the multiple disciplines, because as I already mentioned that the objective of the course is that, as you can see, the gross level understanding of how machines process speech and all. And now we have seen that in the machines are there everywhere. Just to name it any field, you can able to see that the role of machines, or its a significant involvement in carrying out the applications in any field. Like for example, in the case of mobile phones, for example, you can see that in the case of mobile phones, where you can see that the earlier objective of the mobile phones will be like you can able to contact, or you can able to speak to people, distant people, where it's not from a steady place and all, you can able to move around, or from anywhere to anywhere, any point you can able to contact. That was the basic goal, but later on you can see that several applications were added to that, and almost like everybody have to use the mobile phone some or other way, like in their day to day life and all. So likewise, there are, like every field you have machines were there, and since the machines are involved in almost all applications, so as a humans they can able to interact in a very interact with the machines with the different interfaces, as we are knowing. Like for example, in a mobile phones you can have the interfaces like keys, and you can have interfaces like a touch screen. So they are the available interfaces. Likewise, suppose if you want to interact with the desktop system, if you want to feed any commands or any information, you can use the keyboard to enter the details and all. Likewise, for other appliances and all, you have appropriate, for example, you have access the TV, like if you want to like use the TV, you can use the remote controller, or from industrial applications use some panels. So that way we have various interfaces to access the machines and all. But compared to the existing interfaces, since as a human, so if we want to convey the information, if we want to receive the information, humans will feel speech is the more convenient way or more natural way and all, because from the beginning, from childhood, we use by using a speech we used to interact with our parents or our elders or the entire society and all. So that way for humans speech seems to be like the more flexible or more convenient way of communicating and all. So therefore we expect even for machines also to interact, speech seems to be more convenient or comfortable way of interacting and all. So in that context, as the machines are there everywhere in all fields and all, so the speech processing is more or less can be applicable or related to the multiple disciplines and all. And here we just list out here the few of the applications, a few of the like where the fields, some of the fields I just listed out, and we'll just mention very briefly about each how each of these field will contribute to speech processing and all, right. For example, if you have expertise in computer science, and that can be useful in designing and developing the algorithms which can able to work in a very efficient way with respect to time sensitive tasks and so on. And suppose if the tasks are involved, or if the task is involved with a huge amount of data, and for designing the efficient models and all, if we want to design for that purpose, we need to have a lot of computation power, and in that case the design of like a parallel architectures and parallel programming will be helpful, where that can be carried out by the computer science background or computer science expertise and all. And similarly for the background with electronics and communications, and knowledge in this can be helpful for designing the transmission of a speech from one point to other point in a very robust and efficient way and all, right. As you have seen that now most of these speech applications that can be by using internet, we used to transmit from one point to other point for various voice related applications and all. In that context, the transmission perspective, so because we encounter the various channels where the channel characteristics are different, sometimes it's a wired or wireless, or like sometimes we have networks related to IoT sensors and all, where the resources are important. So in those constraints, how do we design, how do we like represent the speech, or how do you code the speech, encode the speech so in effectively, so that at receiving end we can able to recover it without any much distortion or loss. So that way the expertise in electronics and communications will be useful and all. And similarly in case of suppose if you have background in electrical engineering, and those concepts will be useful for analyzing the speech signals from a source and system perspectives, because as we know that the speech is produced by our vocal tract system by exciting with from the exhalation of air emitting from our lungs and all. So that way we can view this speech production system as a combination of a source and a system, where the excitation source is provided by the exhalation of air from the lungs, and then this air is propagating through the vocal tract system that produces the resonances or vibrations which provides to the acoustic variations and all. So, the people having the electrical background, they can able to visualize, or they can able to decompose the speech into the source and system perspectives, and they can able to analyze in a better way. Later it can be useful for various speech tasks including synthesis and so on. And not only that, having a knowledge in electrical engineering will be helpful for developing the embedded systems and so on. Then the mechanical and engineering, industrial engineering background will be useful for example, designing the robots. Nowadays actually the industrial robots are there for various applications in industries and all. So, for those industries you can able to control the robots by using the speech interface. So, in that context having a domain knowledge in mechanical and industrial engineering or the other disciplines related to that, not only industrial like mining, materials and so on, will be helpful for developing the efficient robot interfaces for catering the various applications and all. Then coming to the healthcare, where by analyzing the, like for example, analyzing the speech pathology or a pathological speech signals, one can able to analyze, or one can able to like identify or detect any disorders that are present in our vocal tract, or like the other cavities, almost like you can have from lungs to the oral cavity including till lips. If you have whatever the disorders, if they are present, so they can be analyzed and they can be detected by having a domain knowledge, and for those people also they can able to contribute in those applications related to speech processing, because the speech that is emitted from those patients you can able to analyze, and by having a knowledge in that background, the physiology and all, so it will be helpful for detecting or analyzing the speech signals in that context of detecting the disorders and analyzing the disorders and all. And not only that, this in the healthcare domain, this speech processing will be used, the task related to speech processing will be used for maintaining or for automatically capturing the patient history or patient information during the interaction between the doctor and a patient. So, the entire conversation will be captured, and that will be later on will be useful for deriving the patient history and all. And then finance and banking. So, here also the because in case of banking sector, for example, along with the digital signatures and all, you can use the voice interface, or you can use the speech as the way of verifying the person or verifying the account holder and all. You can use that. With that, the additional security measure can be added to the system and all, right. So, that way the person authentication can be carried out by using the speech mode and all. And in case of audio and music industry also, the knowledge in speech can be, you can able to extend it to the audio and music industry, particularly when you are designing the audio with various effects consisting of different instruments and all. We need to, whatever the speech knowledge, that will be useful, and in addition to that, the specific audio domain knowledge will be very helpful for developing the systems by knowing the basics of a speech. And in addition to that, even the music also, one can able to use these speech related tools and methods, processing methods or analysis methods can be applicable directly on the music signal. For example, like this Carnatic music or like Hindustani music. So, one can able to analyze the melody, can able to derive the melody from that by using a speech processing methods and all. And then by analyzing the melody, one can able to find out the different events, and one can able to discriminate different ragas or various other salient features can be extracted from that. And linguists and phoneticians also can contribute better if they have some speech background or some speech processing knowledge and all, because as you know that the speech is always associated with the language and all. So, therefore, in addition to the linguistic knowledge and phonetic knowledge, if you use this knowledge over the speech processing, so they can able to do much better way to canalize the speech signals and all. So then once this so that way from this it is clear that the broad objective of this course is to understand how machines will process the speech, and with this gross level of understanding, and people from any background, people from different backgrounds, they can able to contribute in their respective domains in a very effective way by knowing the brief details about how machines will process the speech and all. Then they can able to add their domain knowledge on top of it, so that they can able to build an efficient and robust systems. So then as I mentioned, to carry out this objective or to know this to understand this objective, first of all we should know about what is speech. So the moment once you ask a question about what is speech, it appears to be very simple question, right? Because as a human, all of us are using a speech in very often in our day to day life and all. So usually the speech will be used for our communication purpose. That means suppose if we want to ask something or if we want to convey something, then we use the speech mode for communication or for conveying the information, and at the same time we also expect the response also from the in the speech mode and all. So that way the moment once you say speech means it is nothing but person to person communication. So say that the person to person communication, it means that if I want to convey something, then based on our acquired knowledge related to the speech and all, so whatever the message we want to convey, so that message will be delivered in the form of a speech signal, and it will be propagated through air, and then it reaches to the intended person and all, right? And the intended person now will receive that message, that means will receive those acoustic variations of the speech signal, and then he can interpret and he can able to make out the message, and then he responds back, So that way the moment once you if you want to know about what is meant by speech, means it is used for communication between the humans, right? And it's a natural mode of communication among humans. That's what it is, natural mode of communication, and then among that it's a best communication aid for humans, that is also can able to say. And in a naive way, when you say that a speech, what is meant by speech means one can able to say very naive way that it's produced by human vocal tract operators and all. That's true to some extent. It's produced by the human vocal tract operators and all. And here in this context, here the communication is between the two persons. When he want to communicate, then he acts like a speaker. That means he generates the speech, whatever the message you want to convey, that message will be transformed into speech, and the speech is nothing but the acoustic pressure variations and all, and those are suitable if you convert the speech into those acoustic pressure variations, and that particular signal is suitable for transmission for some distance and all, depending upon how loudly you speak, and you can able to, the distance will be proportion to that and all. So that way the person who want to communicate, who want to convey the message, he acts like a speaker. That means whatever the message you want to communicate, he generates a speech, equivalent speech, and then he communicates, and then he generates a speech signal, and the speech signal will propagate, and now the speech signal will be propagated through air, and then the intended person will interpret that, and he knows that that message is meant for him, and so that he interprets that. That means from the speech signal here, now the intended person will act as a listener, and all. So it means that the acoustic pressure variations, whatever they will be captured by our hearing mechanism through ear, and then that will be again feedback to our the higher centers of a brain, and where the message understanding will takes place and all, because these are the acoustic pressure variations, and the translation or transformation of these acoustic pressure variations to again the message will be carried out by our hearing mechanism, then the perceptual mechanism at a higher centers of a brain. So that way during one way communication, a person 1 acts as a speaker and a person 2 here act as a listener and all, and when he responds back, then the person 2 acts as a speaker and a person 1 now acts as a listener and all, right. So, that way the person as a human, we have both the production knowledge and as well as the perception knowledge. So, with that, whenever we want to convey something, we act like a speaker and then we generate the speech, and whenever we want to listen to something or when we want to receive, then we can act like a listener and all. So, here this is a speech between the two humans, and the same way the speech can be communicated between one to many also. So, the example is like, for example, in case of a teacher in a classroom, our teacher speaks or teacher teaches a lesson and it will be heard by students, the student 1, student 2 and like for example student 50. There are 50 students in a class, and then the communication takes place from a teacher to the students and here the teacher acts like a speaker and all these students acts like listeners and all. So, this way we can say that a speech is basically used for communication between the humans and all, and it is between a pair of humans, or it may be between multiple people where one person acts like a speaker and others will be act like a listeners and all. The same thing you can able to mention the application of a meetings and all. So, where we have a group of people assembled want to discuss on a particular topic, and then one after another will speak on the topic and take the opinions and all. So, that way the speech mode will be of a way of communicating the information and all. Next thing is that just if you want to see from the previous slide, what we understand is that a speech is communication media or communication, and if you want to like from this if you want to define the speech more like controlled way. So, whenever we say speech, it is not that a speech is whatever is produced from a vocal tract can't be call it as a speech, because from a vocal tract you can produce different sounds, you can produce various sounds by moving the articulators in a different ways, you can able to produce multiple sounds. It is not all the sounds contribute to speech, all the sounds contribute to speech, because speech, whenever we say speech, if you want to define the speech in a very controlled way, speech means it is always associated with a language, always associated with a language, and the moment once you add language or bring the language into the definition of a speech, it means that once you say that associate the language to the speech, then the speech is constrained. So, it means that it is not, because the earlier way of saying whatever is produced by a human vocal tract system or vocal tract operators can't be called a speech, because there are several sounds that can be produced, like you can able to like do the whistles, or you can do different things, different cat calls, different sounds you can make it by using our vocal tract system and all, right. But all cannot be contributed to speech, because now we say that the speech means it is associated with a language, and we know that language means a set of words, language means a set of words, right. Language constitutes with a set of words, and the sequence of words will form the language will form the phrases or a sentence, because usually the sentence means it gives some complete meaning, let me stands on its own, right. A sequence of words forms the sentences or the phrases and all, right. And a sequence of the words, there are some set of words, as we know that if you see the language English, where if you look at the English dictionary for example, we have like there are many words, maybe order of lakh or more than lakh words are there, right. So, that those are the set of the words are known to be vocabulary of the language and all. So, those are the words, that means whatever you speak in English, you have to speak only from those words only from those words. So, that way there is not to be vocabulary, or you can say that the set of words constituted by that particular language and all. And again, when you say the words, as we know that word is nothing but a sequence of sounds, word is nothing but a sequence of sounds. So, therefore, whenever we tag language to the speech, that means whenever we say that speech associated with the language, the moment that it is not that all the sounds produced by vocal tract can't be valid, they are not all are not legal and all. The only the sounds that will be contributed to produce the words, only those sounds are known to be valid sounds, are the legal sounds and all. And again, among those legal sounds also, It is not that any sequence of the legal sounds will not form the words, because as you see that in a language there are 50 sounds or 40 sounds for example. So, any combination of any sequence of those valid sounds will not produce the words, because the words are limited, there are only 1 lakh words. But if you have a 40 words, or if you have a, suppose for example you have 50 sounds, and if you try to make out all possible combinations of this 50 like sounds, there are many sounds, there are like the sounds are in the exponential order, right. So, that means words are not available, the words are only limited, only 1 lakh words. So, therefore, again the sequence of sounds here we need to say that it is not that the true sequence of words, it is legal sequences of the legal sounds, legal sequences of legal sounds. So, that will actually viewed as a words and all. The same way again the sequence of words, simply any sequence of words will not form the sentence, because we have 1 lakh words for example in a particular language. Any combination or any sequence of words will not form the sentence, right. Only there are few sequences that are permitted or that forms a sentence and all. So, this is again legal sequence of words that constitutes the proper sentences and all. So, this way we can able to define the language. So, therefore, whenever you say speech, so it is speech is always associated with the language, and again the language consists of set of words, and again each word is a sequence of sounds, and again those sequence of sounds also there are some legal or a few sequences are permitted to form a legal words or to form the words of a language. So, therefore, you can say that legal sequence of legal sounds and the legal sequence of words that are valid and all. So, therefore, so the moment once you say that the speech means it is produced by humans and it is produced by human vocal operators, then by applying a language, then only certain sounds are valid, and again those among the various sequences only certain sequences are valid. So, that way we can able to constrain or we can able to restrict the definition of a speech based on the language and all. And here just I want to introduce some terminology. I am just mentioned some sounds, or basic sounds or something. So, these basic sounds are termed as phonemes or phones. Phonemes or phones. Phonemes or phones. So, these are the basic sounds. These are the basic sounds, like for example k, like a, e. So, all these are some basic sounds. So, that way you can say that there are about maybe with respect to languages, various languages that are there exist in the world, then maybe maximum there are 60 sounds may be there present, and in that 60 sounds cater to all the languages, whatever some thousands of languages that are exist in the universe, right. There are 60 sounds, but in the 60 sounds every language will take or will consist of about 40 to 50 sounds, and then if you try to analyze across the languages, there are about 80% or 80 to 85%, 80 to 90% of the sounds are common across the languages and all, and the languages are differ based on a few sound units. There are few sounds that are specific to a language and they are not present in some other language and all. So, that way the languages are differed based on very few sound units, and with that the languages will be differed, and otherwise the most of the languages they share a common set of sounds. But the variation in the language is nothing but those sounds, the sequence of those sounds are specific to each of the language. That means certain sequences that are valid in a particular language, certain sequences that are valid in some other language. So, that way the sequences that are like valid in a particular language may not be valid in some other language. So, that way the languages will be differed and all. And these phones are known to be sound units, and these phones are symbolically represented by in a language by using the language alphabets, or you can say that they are known to be graphemes and all. They are known to be graphemes or known to be alphabets of the language and all. And these graphemes are nothing but, in case of English, the graphemes are nothing but our the alphabets, the 26 alphabets, whatever A, B, C, D and so on, like. So, with that you can able to represent the phones and all. whereas in case of other languages they are appropriate the graphical representations, and that is why they don't want to be graphemes and all. Don't to be graphemes. So, with this actually now we move on to the next topic. So far we come to know about what is speech, and now we will see that what is speech processing. So, we know that speech is nothing but a communication between two humans, right, and here in this like these humans, like human 1, human 2, sometimes human 1 acts as a speaker and sometimes human 2 acts as a listener, and the other way also. And for human to human communication we use the speech, but here is there a speech processing is involved, because for human to produce a speech or to listen to the speech or to understand the speech, is there any processing is involved? No, right, because we do not know how we are processing the speech, because we learned over a period of a time during our childhood from our elders, from our parents, elders and so on. We learned over a period of a time and we acquired that knowledge, and with that knowledge we can able to generate the speech, and we can able to interpret the speech, or we can able to even understand the speech also. So, that way the human to human communication, there is no need for speech processing, or no speech processing is involved. No speech processing is involved between the human to human communication and all. But whenever if you want to communicate, a human want to communicate with a machine, a human want to communicate, because as I mentioned that nowadays several applications in the entire world, there are lots of applications, or most of the applications they dealt with the machines in different forms, whatever it is, right. And here in this context the human or humans, we need to interact with the machines and all. And as I mentioned that the way of interaction with the machines by humans, because the other end is a human, so he prefers to be speech as the interacting surface or interface to deal or to interact with the machines and all. So, therefore, as a human, when he want to interact with a machine, he want the speech mode of communication or speech mode of interaction will be preferred, or he likes to have speech mode of interaction, because he acquired that or he get used to that from his childhood, and so therefore he is more comfortable and he feels it is a more convenient for him at all. And here in this case of human to machine communication, here you can see that human is communicating to machine, right. So, in that case human communicate with the machine using a speech, and now he expects the response also from a machine using a speech. He expects the response also from a machine using a speech, right. And because here the human using a speech mode, he interacts with his fellow humans and all. So, therefore, the same way he expects the interface or interaction with the machine also. So, therefore, here in this when the human want to interact with the machine, he expects that the machine also should perform should process or should respond in the same way as a fellow human and all. So, therefore, here the machine the needs to perform when the human sends information through speech, or you want to send some message through speech, then the machine is expected to understand the speech. Right. So, here the one is nothing but speech understanding. Right. So, because human convey the information in the form of a speech, so the other end there is a machine. So, machine is expected to understand the speech, right. And here what is meant by speech understanding? Speech understanding is nothing but, from a human counterpart, speech understanding is nothing but whatever the message the human has sent or human has communicated through speech, the other human should interpret the same message, should interpret or should understand or should get the same message. So, here in the context of humans, message means it is a very abstract form. Message is an abstract form. It is very difficult to define the message, But if you want to communicate through speech, he has to choose some language based on the other human. If the other human knows English, whatever the message is there, that message will be coded or message will be like embedded in the language that is understood by the other human and all. So therefore here the message in the human, the message will be communicated through speech, and as I mentioned already, the speech is associated with the language. So therefore the message will be derived, or message will be viewed in the form of sequence of words, right, sequence of words. So therefore here the speech understanding by machine is nothing but from the speech signal or from the speech. So one can able, the machine should able to extract, a machine should able to derive the text. The text is nothing but a sequence of words. Text is nothing but sequence of words, right. And the same way here again the machine want to respond, the machine responds back to the human. So here also the response is expected to be in the form of speech mode. The response is also in the form of speech mode. So therefore here the second part is nothing but the speech generation or speech synthesis. So it's nothing but again the machine want to give some response, that means the machine want to send some message back to the human and all. So here in the machine perspective, again the message is nothing but a text corresponds to some language. Text corresponds to some language where the human can able to understand that language, right. So text has to be again transformed back to speech. Text has to be transformed back to speech. So therefore the speech processing is basically involved. A machine should understand the speech whatever is conveyed by the human, and again the machine has to respond back to human through speech mode. That means that whatever the message it want to communicate, the message in the normal sense, suppose if it is not a speech interface, the message will be communicated through display in the form of a text directly, or otherwise the message will be printed out through a printer and all. So that way there are other ways of communicating or like displaying or outputting, but here the human preferred to have a speech mode of interaction. So therefore the message has to be written or to be converted to speech mode. So therefore here the text to be converted to speech mode. So therefore here the like when you say that when you somebody asks a question like what is speech processing means, like the machine should understand the speech and the machine should generate the speech. Machine should understand the speech, machine should generate the speech. So these are the two activities that are involved, and the speech processing is nothing but how the machine understands the speech and how the machine can generate the speech. And that understanding the speech means from the speech signal, from the acoustic variations, how the machine or how a system can able to derive a sequence of words, sequence of text, sequence of words. And the other way is nothing but the speech generation, and it is also known to be like speech synthesis and all, and the speech understanding is usually called as speech recognition. Right. Okay. So we will see the more details about this first part and second part, like for example speech recognition is nothing but speech understanding. And this is also known to be speech to text transformation, speech to text transformation. So we know that in case of for a humans, the speech to speech, we know that a speech signal means it contains the acoustic variations, that means acoustic is acoustic signal, and it should be first captured. For a machine to process the speech signal, it has to be captured, it has to be recorded. So how do we do that? By using a microphone, one can able to capture the speech signal, and afterwards now it becomes the electrical signal, and from this we know that a speech contains a sounds, a sequence of sounds, right, that becomes a words, that forms the words, right. So therefore from this speech signal somehow we need to detect or we need to identify the sounds that are present in the speech signal and all. So for that we can able to, by making use of some acoustic model, acoustic model is nothing but for each sound it has its unique characteristics, and we will try to model those characteristics with appropriate the statistical pattern recognition models and all. So, that way by taking the samples of the same sound from different versions, so we will try to build the model. So, those are known to be acoustic model. So, it means that from this signal we will try to derive some features, useful features, and by using those features you can able to build the model and all. Then afterwards when we give into the acoustic model, then when you test this, then we will come to know that, so this the given speech signal corresponds to which of the sound and all. So, that way this acoustic model will provide you the output of the sequence of sounds. Sequence of sounds are known to be phones, right, and these sequence of sounds are given to a language model. Language model means we know that, for example, we know that the speech corresponds to English or a speech corresponds to Hindi, for example. So, we know that language information prior to that. So, then we use the appropriate language model. Language model is nothing but, so this particular language we know that the speech signal corresponds to a particular language, and we will try to identify the sequence of sounds that are present in that, and we will try to see that which of the sequences are legal and which of those sequences corresponds to a legal word or a valid word and all, because we know that each language consists of some set of words and each word consists of some sequence of sounds. So, based on the sequence of sounds here, we will try to, by using language model, we can able to derive or we can able to output or can able to derive the sequence of words, or it is nothing but text at all, text. So, this way this is a broader framework with which the machine tries to understand the speech. It is nothing but tries to derive a sequence of words from the given speech signal and all, given speech signal, right. And now here this is the block diagramic perspective of speech recognition, and now we will see the other one, as we have seen that in the case of the machine interaction, the human interaction with the machine, there are two components that are required. One is the machine should understand the speech, and the second one is the machine should generate the speech. Machine should generate the speech, like this is nothing but speech generation. A speech generation. So, we know that for generation of a speech some message is required. Assume that the message is available in a machine in the text form, right, and then for production of a speech, the way humans produce the speech is nothing but as we know that the message formulation takes place at the higher centers of the brain, and based on the language the target audience or the target listener, so the message will be coded into a particular language. It is nothing but, so those words will be picked up and then those words will be will speak those words. So, here the speaking the words or generating the words is nothing but producing a sounds that are associated to that particular word in a succession and all, in a succession. For example, if you want to produce the word but, so the sounds that are constituted the word but will be b is one word b, and then a, and then ta. There are three sound units that contributes to the word but, right. So, that way every word whatever is to be produced or to be pronounced, it needs some sequence of some sounds to be uttered in a succession and all. So, that way whatever the words are there that are in a text form, from that we need to derive what are the phonemes, sequence of phonemes that constitutes to pronounce the given word and all. So, once we have the sequence of phones, we will try to see that for production of that particular sound unit, what is the excitation that is required and what kind of vocal tract shape that is required, or what kind of articulatory movements that are required and all, right. So, for that purpose here, in case of speech generation, one way to generate the speech will be, so we have the text, we have the text and the text will be, first of all, text is nothing but a sequence of words in some language and all, and this sequence of words, from this sequence of words we will take each word, and for each word we need to derive a sequence of phonemes corresponds to that particular word. For that, what we need? We need a language model. It's nothing but a pronunciation dictionary and all. This language model, it's nothing but a pronunciation dictionary. Pronunciation dictionary and all. So, this pronunciation dictionary, as we are aware of that, in case of dictionary of English language, we can see that a dictionary consists of thousands of pages. In each page, in alphabetical way, all the words are there, like starting from the first page, we have all words are related to and then in a very sorted way it used to be there. Every word, you have a word in a text form, and for every word how it will be pronounced. So, that will be indicated by a sequence of phones, a sequence of sounds and all, sequence of sound. And so, therefore, by using language model, these words are translated to, or these words are transformed to a sequence of phones, a sequence of phones. So, here also symbols, sequence of phones. So, once the sequence of phones are available, so we know that for every phone to generate or to produce the sound, for every sound, the sound will be produced with the help of the vocal tract. That means by keeping articulators at certain position or certain opening or certain way, a structure has to be provided, and then the exhalation or excitation has to be given to that. So, therefore, for every phoneme we have to be like the vocal tract parameters has to be derived, and then for the same thing the corresponding excitation also, excitation parameters also has to be derived, and then these two parameters will be given to some synthesizer. These two parameters will be given to the synthesizer in appropriate way. Then the synthesizer will provide you the output, provide you the speech output, provide you the speech output. So, this is one way of producing the speech, where the sound units are represented in the parametric form, and then by using appropriate system, like here you can say that here the vocal tract system and this excitation, and by these two responses will be convolved, so that you can able to derive the speech out of that. This is one way. This is known to be parametric synthesis. Parametric synthesis. So, there are other ways of synthesizing the speech, like suppose if you synthesize the speech by mimicking our the physiological vocal tract system, it is known to be articulatory synthesis. Articulatory synthesis. So, in case of articulatory synthesis, we will try to, for every sound, for production of every sound, we will try to see that, we will try to examine clearly what are the various articulators that are involved in the production of that particular sound, and what are their dynamics, movements, and what are their positions, how they are there in the vocal tract cavity or other places and all, and what is the type of excitation. So, all these things are we properly carried out by using appropriate the electrical or mechanical components, and with that you can able to synthesize the speech. It is known to be the articulatory synthesis, and this will be like it will be very difficult to provide to design and develop all these things, but it gives you a more accurate speech or more natural speech, because the reason is that because this speech is produced from the way the human speech production it mimics to that. And there is other forms of synthesis, speech synthesis, known to be waveform synthesis. Waveform synthesis. So, here the idea of waveform synthesis means, suppose if you collect a speech signal for varieties of a text, and from that you you can chop the speech signal into with respect to different sound units or words or whatever. So, that way we will form a data store, and where we have like for every sound in all the contexts we will keep it in a proper in a very standard way, in a very systematic way we will arrange that. And then as per the text, we know that from the text by using language model, we know that what is the corresponding sequence of phones associated to that particular text, and then each phoneme we will try to see that whatever the context that phoneme is there, because the same sound unit will be uttered or will have a different characteristics based on its presence, based on its context and all. Suppose for example, a sound unit ka in the presence of vowel before and vowel later, and depending upon the nature of vowel and all, its characteristics will be different. So those are known to be co-articulation effect and all. It means a sound unit, characteristics of sound units, it depends on its preceding and following, and again one more level also, next sound units before and after, because it's a physical physical system, and where the articulators has to be moved only with a restricted range. So therefore, each sound unit cannot be produced in a very unique way and all, because the sound unit, the production of sound unit or the characteristics of sound unit, that depends on its preceding and as well as the following, as preceding and following and all. For example, cat is there. So in that there is a sound, for example, a. So that that is the, here in this context, like a ka is there, the preceding, and then the ta is there, the following sound unit. And that means for production of cat, there are 3 sound units that are produced in succession and all, right? And so likewise, suppose a bat, like some other sound. So if you look at that characteristic in the cat or bat or some other thing, so it varies, that depending upon the sounds that are preceding, sounds that are following, that known to be co-articulation effect and all. So you have to take care about all of them, then only can able to get a natural, a more natural speech where the humans can able to appreciate better and all. So this is a speech generation. So that way, in case of speech processing, mainly it involves about the speech processing by machine. It's nothing but the machine understanding of speech by machine, and then generation of a speech by machine and all. So understanding of a speech by machine is known to be a speech recognition, and the generation of a speech by machine is known to be a speech synthesis and all, right? And here, while generating the speech, as we have seen, we mentioned the parameters and so on, vocal tract and excitation parameter. In addition to that, there are several other parameters also involved in synthesizing the speech, because when you are producing the sound units and all, so we are producing different sound units with the different durations and all, with a different duration. Sometimes for same sound unit will be, it's not that all the time the sound units will produce the same duration and all, they vary. Suppose a sound unit that is present in a word of, like for example 5 sounds will be different from a sound unit that is present in only 2 word with only 2 sounds, right? So that depends upon the its context and where it is present and all, the duration characteristics, and the other characteristics also will vary and all. So therefore, all those parameters, all those features also has to be embedded, so that we can able to derive the speech. Because the other end we have a human. So since we are more as a between the humans, since there is no speech processing, both have the speech production, perception, knowledge. So the human speech will be more natural and all. So therefore, we don't have any problem, and we feel more comfortable with the human speech. The moment once you interact with the machine, then we have to see that the machine produced speech, whether is it like more natural or not, or whether it's conveying the message, or whether it's conveying the other informations or not. So all those things has to be properly taken care. So like now here, just if I want to summarize about what is speech processing. So we have seen that the human to human communication is not involved, there is no speech processing is required between humans, or the communication exchange or information exchange between the humans or among the humans, there is no need for speech processing. But whenever the human interacts with a machine, and a machine requires a speech processing and all, because we expect the machine to mimic like a human, the way the human understands the speech, and the way the human produce the speech or generate the speech for a given message, we expect the machine to do the same similar task. So therefore, a machine has to process the speech, because the speech signal is acoustic signal, whereas from a human counterpart, that acoustic signal will be processed by our hearing mechanism, like you can have a ear and then different parts of our physical system. So, that will take care of it, right. And then we have higher centers of a brain, very complex system. So, that way our human mechanism of perception or production, so that will be done very seamless way, and we feel that there is no like we will say that very effortlessly we will do those things, both production of a speech and perception of a speech. But in the context of a machine, the moment once you say that it has to be carried out by machine, so machine we should articulate, or we should have to very clearly mention how the speech will be generated, right, and how the speech will be interpreted and all. So, that has to be very clearly articulated. So, that is where the problem is. Unless if we do not clearly articulate, the machine cannot understand the processes or the steps that are involved in the either in the speech generation or a speech understanding and all. So, that way the speech processing, when you say the speech processing means, it is always to be with the machines, it is nothing to do with the humans and all, right. But on the machines, it has to, we will try to see that the machine perform the speech or perform the speech activity similar to the humans or like the humans and all, right. The next one is thing is that the applications that are related to speech processing. So far we discussed about the speech, what is meant by speech processing, and it is basically involved with the machines. It is nothing but understanding and generation of a speech from the message for a given message. And now we will see that what are the various applications that are related to or that are based on the speech processing. And in that very fundamental and very important application, which involves both the activities, both speech recognition as well as speech synthesis, and also in addition to that there is another one named to be language translation also involved in this particular application and all. Here the speech to speech conversion, the idea here is that as the name indicates here. So, here the machine has to convert the speech of one language to a speech of other language and all. So, it means that suppose you are receiving a speech signal in English language and you want to convert the speech signal into Hindi. So, here in both the cases, so you are receiving a speech signal means it is nothing but sequence of sounds, it is nothing but it is associated to language and has some message that is present in that particular speech signal. So, whatever the message that is carried out or carrying by like in the English speech, the same message has to be embedded in the Hindi language and all. So, the speech to speech conversion means, so converting a speech from one language to speech to other language and all, speech to other language. So, here this can be carried out by using the speech recognition and speech synthesis modules, what we have just discussed, where the machine, the speech interface to the machine, where the machine should take care about speech understanding and speech generation, right. And here the task is much more than that. Here the speech to speech conversion, that means here for assuming that you have a speech provided by human 1, a person 1, and he gives a speech, and then you have the machine, you have a machine, and here the human 1, he is producing a speech in some specific language, right. For example, here is producing a speech in English language, right. That means he uses the English phonemes, English words and so on, and here the machine tries to capture the speech signal acoustic variations and tries to derive the text out of it. It means it derives the message in English, and here the target person is another human which he understands or which he knows only Hindi, for example. That means he does not know about English and all. So, if you want to have communication between human 1 and human 2, where the human 1 knows only English and human 2 knows only Hindi, for example. So, in that case, by using a machine, one can able to generate the speech in Hindi language and all, generate the speech in Hindi. So, how do we do that? Here the machine, first it will receive the speech signal in English and then it derives a message out of it. It means there is nothing but the English words corresponds to that particular message, and now we know that the target speaker, the target human or the target to be delivered in Hindi language. So, therefore, here the machine, in addition to this, in addition to speech understanding, so the machine also should be capable of performing text to text transformation. Text to text transformation. It means that it has to do some language processing, natural language processing. That means whatever the message that is provided by this English speech or whatever the English text is there. So, the equivalent text in Hindi has to be derived. That means the same message has to be embedded in that particular Hindi text and all. So, that will be carried out using language to language translation, and there involves a natural language processing and all. It is nothing to do with the speech, because from the speech we derive the message by using speech understanding or speech recognition, right, and afterwards then we got the speech, we got the text in the English, and then here since the target we need to deliver the speech in Hindi. So, therefore, here Hindi to English to Hindi text transformation has to be carried out. So, by using some NLP module, natural language processing module, where it knows the languages of English and Hindi both, and then with that it can able to convert the English text into its corresponding Hindi text by embedding the same message and all, right. Then afterwards this Hindi text will be, from the Hindi text will generate the speech in the Hindi, and it will be delivered to the other person, the target audience. And similarly, when the Hindi person responds, here again the speech recognition has to be carried out. Hindi text, here the machine will first understand the Hindi speech and it has to derive the text of Hindi, right, and then again, since here the target is the person who knows only English, so therefore, here the text transformation has to be carried out from Hindi to English, and then again it has to be sent back. In here the speech has to be generated in the English, and then it has to be communicated to human one. So, here that is involved, here the speech recognition, and here the speech synthesis is involved, and here the speech synthesis is involved here and all. So, here if you look at here, so here the application is that the speech to speech transformation, where if you have two humans, they do not have any common language for their communication. In that case, by using a machine, one can able to carry out the speech by using the speech to speech conversion application. It can be carried out, and this has very tremendous applications in various places. For example, all of us know that there is a United Nations, where all the in the universe, whoever the countries are, all the countries will participate there, and they will discuss on the meetings for world peace and so on. So, here in this case, the United Nations meetings, where the meeting will be attended by all countries heads and their secretaries and so on. And since these the heads of nations, they may be knowing their local language, they may be knowing their language that is pertain to their country and all, or other way they may be knowing some other languages, but they may not be knowing all the languages and all. So, that is the reason that actually here in this case, particularly the United Nations meetings, where all the heads of the nations, they assemble, they discuss on a particular topic. It may be world health or like a world peace and so on. So, in that case, if we have the speech to speech conversion, whoever speaks, suppose a Russian prime minister is speaking, for example, then whatever his speech will be converted to Russian text, and then by using a text to text translation, this Russian text is translated to remaining all 200 languages, for example, and then that corresponding text with respect to those texts, the speech will be synthesized to the respective heads of the nations and all. The same way, the other way also. Like this is one of the very important applications where the speech to speech conversion will be useful, and in addition to that, it has lots of applications. For example, tourism. For example, tourism, when you visit abroad or travel and all abroad, so you may not be knowing the language of the nation and all, and so but you want to interact, if you want to do business or if you want to do anything and all, then in that case your languages are different, so each of you are not able to conversate directly. So, there by using the machine, where the speech to speech conversion will be very helpful in carrying out the target application and all. And this application, speech to speech conversion, is very helpful, particularly the countries like India, where we have multilingual countries, like India, where we have several languages. The people speak geographically in different places, speak in different languages, and if you want to have a communication, if you want to have any information exchange, whatever it may be, for example, a student from a south, he want to know about the admission procedure, or like admission criteria, or whatever, from in some north university or some northeastern state university and all. So, but the student may be knowing only his local language, and he may not be aware of any other language. And likewise, the university people, they may be having their local language, they may be knowing. So, to have information exchange, or to have a communication between them, if we have the speech to speech conversion mechanism, then then the application will take care about satisfaction of both the people and all, right. So that way it has lots of applications, but here it involves not only the speech task, it also involves with the natural language processing. That means here, once the message is available in a particular text, in a particular language, so that has to be translated to the target language. That will be the job of natural language processing and all. That again, knowing that it has to natural language processing, it has to understand the meaning of the message. Then only you can able to properly translate the message into a target language and all. It's not that one to one, or like it's not like a deterministic way of mapping is not possible and all. We had to somehow capture the message, and that message has to be properly translated, so that the message should not be impacted, a message should not be affected and all, right. The same message has to be carried out in the to the target speakers and all. So there are other applications, so that we will discuss in the next class. There are several other applications, but we discuss very few of them very briefly, and once you cover these applications, we will discuss the scope of the course and a few assignments which are hands on and all. That way we can conclude the introductory part of this lecture and all.
This course is a comprehensive view of speech processing, and this consists of 40 video lectures. For each video lecture, the contents that to be covered in this lecture are listed in a slide, and that slide will be displayed at the beginning of a video lecture for about 10 to 20 seconds. The contents with the words and phrases of these contents can be viewed as keywords, and with which you can able to access the desired the video lectures or the part of the video lectures by using these keywords.
Okay, thank you. We will meet in the next class.